As much as you love Trump, I think we can all agree at this point that it's just getting out of hand. Like, honestly, the mass firings, mass deportations, including of citizens, and everything going on from the left to the right, some people think that democracy is nowhere to be seen in his regime this time around. And in today's video, we're joined by a perspective by this Indian American that compares the scenarios in the land of the free to those of India, particularly from 2019 to 2020. So there is something that really happened in India that resulted to mass protests because India was gonna deport Muslims from the Indian community. But these people had nowhere to go since they were citizens of India. So is the likely thing happening in the land of the free? Let's hear out our perspective and also leave your own thoughts down in the comment section and stick around until the breakdown.
Can someone please help me show this to the Americans? I have been trying to get this message across to them, but TikTok is not being very helpful. So click the buttons, do the stuff, please. A lot of you have been asking if there was any country in the recent history that has successfully fought off early stages of fascism. India has. And the reason you're not hearing about it as much on this app is because there are not that many Indians on this app, because India banned TikTok right after we fought off early stages of fascism. I'm not in India, that's why I'm posting right now, but I am Indian. So those of you who've been going through the stages of genocide, what stage are we on? India made it to step 7. And we managed to table it over there. It's been 5 years since. We have not moved. We haven't moved back either. So it's not entirely resolved, but it's been indefinitely tabled over there. So let me tell you, in 2019 to 2020, there were historic protests, made the news worldwide. We broke world records with how much and the kind of protests we did in India for this, because Modi's government introduced a bill called CAA and NRC, if you want to look them up, and they're very similar to what Trump is currently trying to do with the deportations of undocumented people, immigrants, and trying to take away birthright citizenship. India's was similar and simultaneously worse, because in India's case, Modi, those two bills essentially would make it such, it would make a couple of million people stateless, with nowhere to go, because their parents and their grandparents and their great-grandparents are all Indian. These are people whose roots tie back to India before India was a liberated country that Modi's trying to make stateless. It's not like we're going to deport you to where your migrant parents or grandparents came from. No, these are Indian people from the freaking start. How many people do you know who migrate to India? They don't. These were Indian people. So those of you who've been going through the stages of genocide, what stage are we on? India made it to step 7. And we managed to table it over there. It's been 5 years since. We have not moved. We haven't moved back either. So it's not entirely resolved, but it's been indefinitely tabled over there. So let me tell you, in 2019 to 2020, there were historic protests, made the news worldwide. We broke world records with how much and the kind of protests we did in India for this, because Modi's government introduced a bill called CAA and NRC, if you want to look them up, and they're very similar to what Trump is currently trying to do with the deportations of undocumented people, immigrants, and trying to take away birthright citizenship. India's was similar and simultaneously worse, because in India's case, Modi, those two bills essentially would make it such, it would make a couple of million people stateless, with nowhere to go, because their parents and their grandparents and their great-grandparents are all Indian. These are people whose roots tie back to India before India was a liberated country that Modi's trying to make stateless. It's not like we're going to deport you to where your migrant parents or grandparents came from. No, these are Indian people from the freaking start. How many people do you know who migrate to India? They don't. These were Indian people. Hard and fast, that's not a thing. These were Indian people, but he was trying to be like, your passport? Useless. It's paper now. And these were bills that actually got passed in our government, but they were not able to enact the bills because of the protests that all of the Indians got together and did. Again, record breaking. Google it. We protested for 365 days straight. There were some cities that held protests every single day for 365 days. Other cities had it weekly or twice a week or thrice a week. And in fact, in Delhi, there was this one area which had 24-hour sit-ins. This one place had 24-hour sit-ins for 365 days. So people would come and stay there in shifts. They wouldn't leave. So I feel like it's taking a general strike to the next level. Ask me any questions you have about this, but please research this if it is helpful to you in any way, because truly, after that, the government was like, oh, we really can't act on these. Because people united collectively and they were like, no. Those are our people that you're trying to make homeless. And we all know from seeing what's happening in America right now, when you try to deport that many people, what happens? They go to camps. That's why Genocide Watch was called in India fairly early on by the official organization. And at some point, finally, the EU took notice and they were like, we see what you're doing. And they wrote a very heavy legal open letter to India being like, stop it. We know where this goes. Stop it. Of course, India was trying to hide their face and be like, we're fine. But the Indians were very happy because we were like, finally, we need outside intervention to make this maniac stop. Unfortunately, COVID came onto the scene then. Unfortunately, because that's how the protests finally stopped, which lasted over a year. It was because of COVID, not because we were done protesting. But obviously we didn't want to spread COVID. But after that, the government learned that if they try to enact the laws that would make these people stateless and go into camps, the whole country will rise up and be like, you can't do that. So since then, we have been tabled at step 7. It's been 5 years now. We haven't moved up, which good enough at this point, given the state of the world. And Trump, Modi, they're like this. They're like BFFs. They both have the same idols. And yes, I'm referring to the mustache man. Modi also looks at him like a guidebook. It is terrifying and disturbing. And Modi and Trump have their own love story. You should look up pictures of them. I haven't seen Trump give Melania that much love and affection. No, seriously, look them up. They're jarring. Or maybe they'll give you a laugh if you need one. Happy to answer any questions. Please get this out to the Americans so that they can research this if it helps them in any way. There were so many different protest tactics and everything else. Like, I just need to let people know. That's all.
Okay, so those were the very valid points there that she had. But you think that people made her video go viral, they shared it, and they commented on it. But unfortunately, I did the research on her video on TikTok, and it's getting suppressed like heavily. It only has 2 comments. One comment is from an American that says, I'm an American and I just want to say thank you. And the person also just replied to that message. So 2 comments. And it's got only like less than 20 likes. So at this point, I believe what she said. Her statement where she said her videos are getting suppressed. Perhaps somebody doesn't want her videos to go far or all that. Like, I get it. The points that she raises in this video are very concerning. And I also did some digging concerning Modi's relationship with the Trump train. And it goes real deep. They are friends, right? Like in 2019, they were even like visiting each other and meeting each other. And they even had this, I don't know if it was a competition or an event called Howdy Modi. So it was in Texas. And the Trump train and Modi made arrangements to meet in 2019 at that time. So they are buddies and they are close. So it's checking out, you know, like everything that she's saying is kind of like checking out. And that is the scary part, I guess, especially when we bring in the aspect of fascism. You know what fascism is. So this is basically just the rule of somebody that doesn't follow democracy, likened to dictatorship. So at this point, she is kind of like comparing what was happening in India with what's going on in the land of the free. But this is her perspective. So how about you? What do you think about the points that she's raising in her video? Because it is valid what she's saying, right? And India saw this protest like in 2019, right, where they just brought these laws that she was calling, that was the CAA as well as the NRC. So these would prioritize citizenship of Christians, Hindus, and other people from different ethnicities apart from Muslims. Like, that's the unfortunate part when you think about it. So they wanted to kind of like sideline Muslims. And since it happened in 2019, and you all know that the pandemic came about since that time, and that's how these arrangements to just get these people out of their country kind of like ceased up to now. So everything that's going on right now in India is kind of like going back to whatever happened in 2019 with them wanting to deport those people. But the unfortunate part that you did hear from her saying is that these people have got grandparents in India and they've got great great grandparents in India. So that suggests that their ancestors are citizens of India as well. So even if you deport them, like, where are they gonna go? Because India is their country of origin, you would put it. In another country, they would be foreigners. And with all these things that are going on in the world, where are they gonna go to, right? And which country at this point really wants foreigners with the Trump administration just putting these laws in place? Because I'm telling you that some other countries out there are also doing the same thing. Because you've seen South Africa, you've heard what South Africa is saying, right? South Africa also doesn't want to have palm color people owning the majority of the land and the space in South Africa, because white people in South Africa own about 89% plus of all the land in South Africa. And the government currently doesn't want that, right? We heard how Ramaphosa was talking about they want to put laws in place that are going to safeguard the interests of black South Africans, because white South Africans got that land by ways of slavery and just subjugating force towards the black people and took over their lands. So at this point, even other countries are waking up to what the Trump train is doing in the land of the free. So if you are a foreigner, where are you going to go to at this point apart from your country of origin? Like, this is my major concern with this perspective shared by this woman. So to summarize it all, if you're an American there, whether black, whether white, whether Indian, so long as you're a citizen of America and you care about your country and you want to see your country great and supreme like it used to be, I think you should take up this video as some sort of perspective that can enlighten you and others as well. So with that being said, if you enjoyed today's content, like, also subscribe, and share it with somebody that might resonate with the points raised here, because we're just trying to raise awareness at this point and nothing more. I'll see you in the next video, and don't forget to also comment. Signing off, and take care.